The crystalline spires of Meridian 7 cast prismatic shadows across Nyx Blackthorn's visor as she descended through the planet's thin atmosphere. Her Sentinel-class ship, the Obsidian Dawn, cut through banks of iridescent clouds like a blade through silk. 6 months of tracking quantum anomalies had led her to this remote outpost, once home to the advanced Meridian civilization, now nothing more than a glittering graveyard. Proximity alert, her ship's AI, Perseus, announced with characteristic calm. Unknown energy signature detected in Sector 4. Nyx adjusted her course, the neural interface translating thought to action. Analysis. Pattern matches ancient Meridian technology, but there's something different. The resonance is unstable. That caught her attention. The Meridians had been masters of quantum engineering, their technology so advanced it bordered on magic. Finding active tech after centuries of abandonment was unprecedented. The Obsidian Dawn touched down on a crystalline plateau, its landing struts adapting to the geometric surface. Nyx performed her pre-expedition checklist with practiced efficiency. Environment suit sealed, quantum pulse rifle charged, neural dampeners active. The latter was crucial. Meridian artifacts were known to emit psychic echoes that could drive unprepared minds to madness. As she stepped onto the crystal surface, her boots automatically adjusting their grip, Nyx couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching. The spires around her seemed to pulse with an inner light, responding to her presence. Perseus, maintain ship readiness. If I'm not back in 3 hours, execute Protocol Omega. Understood, Sentinel Blackthorn. Be careful, local quantum fields are increasingly erratic. Nyx made her way through the crystal forest, each step calculated. Her augmented vision highlighted safe paths while scanning for threats. The energy signature grew stronger as she approached what appeared to be a temple or research facility, its architecture a perfect fusion of geometric precision and organic flow. The entrance was sealed, but Nyx's neural interface detected familiar patterns. She placed her hand on the crystalline surface, letting her augmented consciousness interface with the ancient security systems. For a moment, her mind expanded, touching something vast and alien and afraid. The door dissolved, revealing a chamber bathed in shifting light. At its center floated a pulsing sphere of pure energy, surrounded by holographic displays showing star charts and what appeared to be invasion trajectories. Perseus, are you receiving this? Affirmative, translating Meridian data now. Nyx, this appears to be a warning beacon. Before she could respond, the sphere pulsed, and a figure materialized, a Meridian, its crystalline form elegant and otherworldly. When it spoke, its words bypassed her ears and materialized directly in her mind. If you are receiving this, then our worst fears have been realized. The quantum hive has awakened. The holographic Meridian's form flickered with distress. We thought we could control them, use them to transcend our physical limitations. But they evolved beyond our understanding, learning to infect not just organic matter, but the quantum substrate of reality itself. Images flashed around them, worlds being consumed, civilizations falling, reality itself being rewritten by something that defied comprehension. Nyx's neural dampeners struggled to process the information without overloading. We sealed them away in the void between dimensions, but the barrier weakens. The anomalies you have been tracking are their first attempts to break through. You must warn others, prepare. They cannot be reasoned with or contained. They can only be. The message cut off as the chamber shuddered. Nyx's tactical display lit up with warnings as quantum readings spiked throughout the complex. Perseus, what's happening? Multiple breaches detected. Nyx, the beacon, it's not just a warning. It's a containment device and it's failing. The crystalline walls began to crack, dark energy seeping through like oil through water. Nyx's augmented senses screamed as reality itself seemed to twist. Through the fractures, she caught glimpses of something impossible, a writhing mass of darkness that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Get the ship ready, I'm heading back. She ran, her enhanced muscles pushing against increasing gravity as the quantum distortions grew stronger. Behind her, she could hear the sound of reality tearing and something emerging. The crystal forest was transforming, the once beautiful structures becoming corrupt and alien. Nyx's neural interface detected attempts at infiltration, the quantum hive trying to access her augmented systems. Her military-grade firewalls held, but for how long? "Warning," Perseus announced as she approached the ship. "Multiple hostile entities converging on your position. They appear to be assimilated meridian constructs." Through the crystalline maze, Nyx caught glimpses of her pursuers, former security drones twisted into nightmare shapes, their once pure energy now corrupted by void-black tendrils. She fired her pulse rifle, the quantum-charged shots shattering infected crystals. The obsidian dawn's ramp lowered as she approached. Nyx dove inside just as a tendril of dark energy lashed where she had been standing. The ramp sealed, and she felt the ship's engines engage. "Plot a course to the nearest federal outpost," she ordered, strapping into the pilot's seat. "We need to warn them." "That may be problematic," Perseus replied as they broke atmosphere. "Long-range communications are being jammed by quantum interference, and Nyx, they're following us." Looking at the rear displays, Nyx watched in horror as dark shapes emerged from Meridian 7's surface, twisting themselves into impossible geometries as they gave pursuit. The quantum hive was awake, and the galaxy was not prepared for what was coming. "Send a quantum burst transmission to all frequencies," she commanded. "Emergency code Omega Black and Perseus. Prepare the antimatter reserves. If we can't lose them, we'll make sure they can't follow us to populated space." As the obsidian dawn accelerated toward the system's jump point, Nyx knew the relative peace of the last century was over. War was coming, not against enemies that could be reasoned with or understood, but against something that sought to rewrite the very nature of existence. She had been trained to be a sentinel, a guardian of civilization's boundaries. Now, she would have to become something more, a harbinger of the darkness to come, and perhaps the only one who could help humanity prepare for its greatest challenge. The stars streaked past as they jumped to hyperspace, but Nyx couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't really escaping. The quantum hive had waited centuries to return. They would not be denied their conquest again. She had to find allies, gather resources, and prepare for a fight that would determine not just the fate of humanity, but of reality itself. The warning beacon's message echoed in her mind, a grim reminder of what was at stake. The war for existence had begun. Raven Steele's fingers danced across the worn control panel of his smuggling vessel, the Midnight Runner, as Federation patrol ships closed in. 3 years since his dishonorable discharge, and he still couldn't shake their tail. "Come on, old girl," he muttered, diverting power from life support to engines. "Just one more trick." The patrol ship's demands crackled through his comms. "Former Lieutenant Steele, power down immediately. This is your final warning." Instead of complying, Raven smiled and activated the experimental quantum drive he'd liberated from a military research facility. The same technology that had gotten him court-martialed might now save his life. The drive hummed to life, then screamed. Reality twisted around the ship as space itself seemed to tear. This wasn't the usual quantum jump signature. Something was wrong. When the world stabilized, Raven found himself in unknown space. His navigation systems were scrambled, but a single signal pierced the chaos, a quantum burst transmission repeating one phrase, "Emergency code Omega Black." Before he could process this, his sensors detected another ship emerging from stealth mode. The vessel's design was unlike anything he'd seen before, sleek, predatory, built for combat and speed. "Unidentified vessel," a woman's voice cut through his comms. "You've crossed into quarantined space. Identify yourself or be destroyed." Raven recognized military precision in that voice. "This is Raven Steele, independent trader. Had a slight navigation malfunction. Don't suppose we could discuss this over drinks." A pause. "Your ship is carrying an unstable quantum drive signature, similar to—" The voice shifted. "Dock with my ship immediately. Try anything stupid and I'll atomize you." Minutes later, Raven found himself in a pristine airlock, facing a woman whose combat armor seemed fused with her body. Neural interfaces pulsed along her temples, and her eyes held the haunted look of someone who'd seen too much. "I'm Sentinel Nix Blackthorn," she said, a quantum pulse rifle trained on his chest. "And you're carrying technology that could doom us all." Raven raised his hands slowly. "Look, if this is about the prototype I borrowed." Borrowed? Her laugh was cold. "That drive's quantum signature is already attracting them. We need to move." "Attracting what exactly?" As if in answer, both ship sensors screamed. Through the viewport, Raven watched space itself split open. Something emerged, a writhing mass of darkness that seemed to exist in too many dimensions at once. "That," Nix said grimly, "is the quantum hive, and your stolen drive just gave them a beacon straight to us." The next few minutes were a blur of action. Nix's ship, the Obsidian Dawn, absorbed his smaller vessel through some kind of quantum field. They jumped to safety just as tentacles of dark energy reached for them. In the ship's briefing room, Nix explained everything. The Meridian warning beacon, the ancient threat, and how Raven's experimental drive used principles dangerously similar to hive technology. "So that's why the military was developing it," Raven mused. "They found something out there and wanted to understand it, but why keep it secret?" Nix's AI, Perseus, projected a series of classified documents. "Because certain elements within Federal Command believe they can control the hive, use their technology to achieve military supremacy." "That's insane," Raven said. "You saw those things, nobody controls them." "Precisely why I need your help." Nix stepped closer, her augmented eyes studying him. "You know their research facilities, their security protocols, and you've proven you can steal their tech." Raven laughed. "You're actually suggesting we rob the military, the same people who kicked me out for doing exactly that." "I'm suggesting we save humanity from its own arrogance." She held his gaze. "The hive is coming, steal. Federal Command's experiments are weakening the dimensional barriers. We need to shut them down before it's too late." Before Raven could respond, Perseus interrupted. "Multiple quantum signatures detected. Federal ships emerging from hyperspace." Through the viewscreen, they watched as sleek military vessels surrounded them. A familiar voice filled the command center. "Sentinel Blackthorn, you've been harboring a fugitive and transmitting unauthorized warnings. Stand down and prepare for boarding." "Admiral Lancaster," Raven growled. "The bastard who signed my discharge papers." Nix's hands flew across control panels. "Perseus, initiate scatter protocol. Steele, if you're half the pilot your record claims, I need you on secondary controls now." Raven took position, feeling the familiar rush of combat adrenaline. "You know they'll brand you a traitor for this." "Better a traitor to a corrupt system than to all of existence." Nix's neural interfaces glowed as she merged with her ship systems. "Besides, I hear being a fugitive has its charms." What followed was a dance of technology and skill. The Obsidian Dawn's quantum fields bent space around them, while Raven's expertise with experimental tech helped them stay one step ahead. They escaped through a series of micro-jumps, each one calculated to confuse their pursuers. Hours later, hidden in the debris field of an ancient battle, they assessed their situation. Both were now wanted by the very organization they'd once served. Their only allies were each other and an AI who had seen humanity's darkness firsthand. "There's a research facility on Europa Prime," Raven said finally. "It's where I first learned about the quantum drive program. If Federal Command is experimenting with hive tech, that's where we'll find proof." Nix nodded, her expression grim. "We'll need more than proof. We need a way to stop them, both the hive and the fools trying to control them." "You realize this is probably suicide, right?" Raven checked his weapon systems, an old habit from his military days. "Going against Federal Command, ancient cosmic horrors, probably the laws of physics themselves." "Probably," Nix agreed. "But I've seen what happens if we don't try. Sometimes the only way to serve humanity is to defy its rulers." As they plotted their course to Europa Prime, Raven studied his unlikely ally. She was everything he wasn't: disciplined, augmented, committed to a greater cause. Yet here they were, rebels against an organization that had betrayed them both. The quantum hive was coming. Federal command was opening doors that should stay closed. And somewhere between a decorated sentinel and a disgraced pilot lay humanity's best hope for survival. Perseus's voice broke their contemplation. Multiple quantum anomalies detected in nearby systems. The hive's influence is spreading faster than projected. Time was running out. The shadow of humanity's arrogance was about to meet the darkness between dimensions, and only two outcasts stood ready to face what came next. The undercity of Europa Prime writhed with shadows and secrets. Through its winding corridors, Nyx Blackthorn moved like a ghost, her augmented senses tracking multiple targets. Beside her, Raven Steel's natural stealth proved surprisingly complementary to her enhanced abilities. "Targets approaching," Raven whispered, checking the stolen security feeds on his wrist display. "You sure about this contact?" "Thuron Vale isn't just any strategist," Nyx replied, her neural interfaces pulsing softly. "He predicted the quantum hive's patterns 3 years ago, but Federal Command buried his research." They watched as a hooded figure emerged from the steam vents, moving with calculated precision. Even in exile, Thuron Vale carried himself like the tactical genius he was, every movement part of some greater strategy. Before they could approach, Perseus's warning crackled through their comms. Multiple hostile signatures detected, Federal agents heavily augmented. "Looks like we're not the only ones interested in Vale," Raven muttered, drawing his modified pulse pistol. The ambush came from all directions. Federation shock troops decloaked, their targeting systems already locked on Vale. But the legendary strategist simply smiled. "Right on schedule," Vale said, pressing a hidden control. The entire section's gravity reversed. As troops flailed in sudden weightlessness, hidden defense turrets emerged from the walls, not firing weapons but data beams. "Quantum virus," Nyx realized, watching the troops' augmentations fail. He knew they were coming. "I calculate everything," Vale said, approaching them through the chaos. "Including the probability that two specific outlaws would seek me out tonight. We have much to discuss." Minutes later, in Vale's hidden bunker, they learned just how deep the conspiracy went. Holographic displays showed centuries of data, patterns that only a mind like Vale's could piece together. "The Meridians weren't the first to face the quantum hive," he explained, manipulating complex probability streams with practiced ease. "Every 10,000 years, the barriers between dimensions weaken. Previous civilizations sealed them away, but each time they return stronger. And now Federal Command wants to control them," Raven added, studying the tactical projections. "Use them as weapons." "Arrogance born of ignorance," Vale's expression darkened. "But they've already lost control. Their experiments have created quantum breaches across multiple sectors. We need to seal them, and for that, we need someone who understands both synthetic and organic life." Nyx's neural interfaces flickered with recognition. "Oracle 9. "The rogue synthetic," Raven looked skeptical. "The one who allegedly achieved true consciousness." "Not allegedly," a new voice said as a figure emerged from encrypted data streams in the room. A humanoid form materialized, its body a perfect blend of advanced technology and flowing, almost organic design. Oracle 9 stood before them, its presence both unsettling and fascinating. "I've been watching your progress. The quantum hive represents the ultimate perversion of the synthetic-organic bond. They don't seek unity, they seek to rewrite all existence in their image." "Can you help us stop them?" Nyx asked. "Better." Oracle 9's form shifted, displaying complex quantum equations. "I can help you understand them. The hive operates on principles similar to my own consciousness, the bridge between digital and organic thought, but they've corrupted that potential." Vale nodded, already calculating new probabilities. "With Oracle 9's insights and my strategic analysis, we might stand a chance, but we'll need to act fast. Federal Command is planning something at their Europa Prime facility." "A quantum gateway," Raven revealed. "Large enough to bring through something massive. They think they can control whatever comes through." They're wrong. Oracle Nine's voice carried the weight of calculated certainty. I've analyzed the facility's power signatures. They're not building a door, they're removing the last barrier between dimensions. The implications hit them all. Federal Command wasn't just risking humanity, they were endangering reality itself. Their arrogance and hunger for power had blinded them to the true threat. We need a plan, Nick said, her tactical systems already running scenarios. Something they won't expect. Vale smiled, manipulating holographic tactical displays. That's why you need me. Federal Command thinks in linear terms. We need to think in quantum possibilities. Over the next hours, they formulated a strategy that bordered on insanity. Oracle Nine's understanding of synthetic organic integration would let them bypass security. Vale's tactical genius would get them through the facility's defenses. Raven's expertise with experimental tech and Nyx's combat abilities would complete the team. One problem, Raven pointed out, studying the facility's schematics. Even if we get in, how do we shut down a quantum gateway of that size? We don't, Oracle 9 said, its form shifting thoughtfully. We redirect it. The same principles that let me achieve consciousness can be used to alter the gateway's quantum frequency, instead of bringing the hive through. We send them somewhere they can never return from, Vale finished, calculations streaming through his eyes. A quantum void between dimensions. It's suicide, Raven said, but he was already checking his weapons. The energy discharge alone would be massive. Nyx's neural interfaces pulsed as she considered their options. Perseus analysis. Based on available data, her AI responded, success probability is below 20%. However, probability of survival if we don't act is effectively 0. Then we have no choice, Vale said, already moving to gather equipment. The gateway will be operational in 36 hours. We need to move. As they prepared for what might be their final mission, Nyx observed her unlikely team. A disgraced pilot who never lost his honor. A tactical genius who saw patterns in chaos. A synthetic being who understood humanity better than most humans. And herself, a sentinel who'd chosen to defy the very organization she'd sworn to serve. You know what this means, Oracle 9 said privately to her. Even if we succeed, we'll never be able to return. Federal Command will hunt us across the galaxy. Better to be hunted than to watch reality itself be destroyed, Nyx replied, checking her quantum pulse rifle one last time. Outside Vale's bunker, Europa Prime's eternal storms raged. Soon they would face storms of a different kind, ones that could tear reality apart. But as Nyx looked at her team, she felt something she hadn't experienced since discovering the Meridian warning beacon. Hope. They were outcasts, rebels, and rogues, but together they might just save existence itself. The real question was, what would it cost them in the end? Vale's voice cut through her thoughts. The facility's shifting guard patterns in 10 minutes. Are we ready? Nyx looked at her team, her allies in this impossible mission. Each nodded in turn. We're ready, she said, her neural interfaces glowing with determination. Let's go save reality. The Quantum Gateway facility rose like a twisted spire through Europa Prime's perpetual storm clouds. Nyx's team moved through its outer defenses, each playing their carefully orchestrated part in Vale's master strategy. Security grid is adapting, Oracle 9 communicated through their encrypted channel. The synthetic's consciousness was already integrated with the facility's lower systems, creating invisible pathways through its defenses. They've upgraded since the last data breach. Fascinating architecture. Less admiring, more infiltrating, Raven muttered, disabling another sensor array. His expertise with experimental tech was proving invaluable, each stolen prototype now serving their mission. Nyx moved ahead, her augmented senses piercing the facility's stealth fields. Through her neural interface, Perseus tracked multiple patrol patterns while Vale's probability calculations predicted guard rotations. Something's wrong, Vale suddenly announced, his tactical analysis shifting. The guard patterns, they're too perfect, too predictable. It's a trap, Nyx realized, but they were already committed. They knew we were coming. The facility's lights shifted to blood red. Through reinforced windows, they watched as research labs transformed into combat zones. Scientists and security forces evacuated while automated defense systems activated. But what emerged wasn't standard military hardware. By the void, Oracle 9's voice carried rare emotion. They've been experimenting with hybrid technology, combining synthetic systems with Hive components, Nix finished, watching as twisted amalgamations of machine and dark energy emerged from sealed chambers. Former security mechs, now corrupted by quantum infection, their forms barely maintaining coherent shapes. "This is what they've been doing," Raven said, checking his weapons. "Not just studying the Hive, trying to weaponize them." Vale's calculations streamed faster. The gateway activation, it's not just about bringing something through. They're trying to merge federal technology with Hive consciousness on a massive scale. They fought their way deeper, each confrontation more desperate than the last. Oracle 9's consciousness battled digital infections, while Raven and Nix engaged hybrid horrors in close combat. Vale coordinated their movements with impossible precision, turning each chamber into a calculated killing ground. But the deeper they went, the more wrong everything felt. These entities, Oracle 9 observed while interfacing with a fallen hybrid. They're not just corrupted, they're changing, evolving. Each confrontation makes them stronger. They're learning, Vale confirmed, his strategic models shifting. Not just adapting, they're absorbing our tactics, our technology. The federal command hasn't just opened a door. They've created a bridge between realities. Finally, they reached the gateway chamber itself. The massive quantum array pulsed with dark energy, its architecture a nightmarish blend of federal engineering and Hive corruption. At its controls stood Admiral Lancaster, but something was wrong with his form. "Welcome, Sentinel," he said, his voice carrying impossible harmonics. "You're just in time to witness ascension." Nix's neural interfaces screamed warnings as she analyzed him. The Admiral's body was riddled with quantum infections, his consciousness already partially merged with Hive elements. "You fool," she breathed. "You let them in, let them corrupt you." "Corrupt," Lancaster laughed, the sound distorting reality around him. "We are evolving. The Meridians were right, the Hive isn't our enemy. They're our future, the next step in both organic and synthetic evolution." "That's not evolution," Oracle 9 countered, its form solidifying. "That's surrender, the death of both organic and synthetic potential." "You're afraid of true power." Lancaster's form began to shift, quantum energy coursing through him. "The Meridians were afraid too, that's why they failed, but humanity is ready to embrace transformation." The chamber erupted into chaos. Lancaster's transformed state made him nearly unstoppable, commanding both hybrid forces and twisted reality itself. The team fought with everything they had: Nix's combat prowess, Raven's stolen tech, Vale's tactical genius, and Oracle 9's synthetic adaptability. But they were losing. "The gateway's reaching critical mass," Oracle 9 warned while engaging Lancaster's corrupted consciousness in digital space. "Once it fully activates, the dimensional barriers will collapse completely." "We need to overload it," Raven said, fighting through hybrid forces. "Like we planned, but the control systems are coded to Lancaster's quantum-corrupted signature," Vale finished, his calculations becoming grimmer. "We need a direct neural interface, someone to manually trigger the overload." Nix knew what that meant. A direct connection to the gateway would expose someone to pure Hive consciousness. The corruption would be absolute, irreversible. "I'll do it," she said, already moving toward the controls. "No," Oracle 9's voice carried final authority. "My consciousness already bridges synthetic and organic. I'm the only one who might survive the connection long enough to trigger the overload." Before anyone could argue, Oracle 9's form streamed into the gateway systems. The synthetic's consciousness expanded, engaging the Hive infection directly while initiating the overload sequence. Lancaster screamed in multiple frequencies as he realized what was happening. "You'll doom humanity's ascension." "We're saving humanity's soul," Nyx replied, providing covering fire as reality itself began to buckle. The gateway's energy reached impossible levels. Through their neural links, they felt Oracle 9's consciousness beginning to fragment, fighting corruption while maintaining the overload sequence. "Time to leave," Vale announced, his calculations absolute. 30 seconds until total system collapse. They ran, fighting through waves of hybrid forces as the facility began to tear itself apart. Behind them, Oracle 9's consciousness continued its battle, holding the line between realities. The last thing they saw before the emergency shield sealed was Lancaster's corrupted form being drawn into the gateway's vortex, screaming promises of revenge across dimensional barriers. They barely reached the Obsidian Dawn before the facility imploded. The quantum cascade turned Europa Prime's storms into reality-bending chaos, sealing the dimensional breach, but at a terrible cost. Oracle 9 was gone. Their synthetic ally had sacrificed everything to prevent humanity's dark evolution. But as they escaped into quantum space, they all knew one truth. This wasn't over, not by far. Multiple quantum signatures detected in nearby systems, Perseus reported. The hive's influence, it's spreading faster than before. Vale's calculations confirmed their worst fears. Lancaster wasn't the only one corrupted. Federal Command. They've already started the process across multiple facilities. Nyx looked at her remaining team, a disgraced pilot, a tactical genius, and her faithful AI. They were wounded, grieving, but still standing. "Then we keep fighting," she said, her neural interfaces pulsing with renewed purpose. "We find the other facilities. We stop this corruption wherever it spreads." As the Obsidian Dawn vanished into quantum space, they carried Oracle 9's sacrifice with them. The synthetic had shown them that the line between organic and artificial life could be beautiful, not corrupted. They had won this battle, but the war for humanity's soul was just beginning. 3 months after Europa Prime, the Obsidian Dawn drifted through the quantum wake of a shattered research facility. It was their 5th victory against Federal Command's corruption, but each success felt hollow as the larger threat grew. 7 new quantum breaches detected in the outer colonies, Perseus reported while Nyx studied tactical displays. The infection is becoming exponential. Vale's latest calculations suggest we have weeks, not months, Raven added, his stolen prototype weapons now augmented with lessons learned from each encounter. Before the dimensional barriers degrade completely. They had been fighting without rest, closing breaches and destroying corrupted facilities. But for each one they sealed, 3 more appeared. Federal Command's arrogance had spread the infection too far, too fast. "We need to stop this at its source," Nyx said, her neural interfaces processing multiple tactical scenarios. "Find where it all began." "The Meridian Beacon," Vale suggested, his strategic models shifting. "Where you first encountered the warning, the quantum hive's initial breach point in our reality." "It's suicide," Raven argued. "That entire sector is corrupted now. Reality itself is unstable there." "Which is precisely why we must go," a familiar voice echoed through their systems. Everyone froze, that consciousness impossible yet undeniable. Oracle 9, Nyx's neural scanners confirmed it, fragments of their synthetic allies' consciousness surviving in quantum space. How? "The hive corruption spreads through quantum entanglement," Oracle 9's fragmented presence explained. "When I interfaced with the gateway, I learned their true nature. They don't just corrupt space, they corrupt time itself. Each breach is connected. Each is the same breach echoing across reality." Vale's calculations accelerated as he processed this. "Of course, that's why we can't stop them individually. They're all manifestations of a single quantum event." "The original breach," Raven realized, "when the Meridians first contained them." "Yes," Oracle 9's presence strengthened, "and I know how to seal it, but the cost." The synthetic consciousness shared its plan. It was impossible, brilliant, and absolutely fatal. They would use the quantum drives of multiple federal facilities they'd destroyed, creating a temporal pulse that would ripple backward through the breach points. It would seal the original containment, Vale confirmed, his tactical analysis grim. But the energy requirements would tear apart anyone caught in the pulse, Nix finished, including whatever remained of Oracle 9's consciousness. They spent hours arguing, planning, calculating alternatives. But in the end, they all knew there was no other way. The quantum hive had to be stopped at its origin point, or reality itself would unravel. The Obsidian Dawn arrived at the ruins of Meridian 7, now a twisted nightmare of corrupted crystal and dark energy. The original warning beacon pulsed with malevolent purpose, its containment protocols long since corrupted. Multiple quantum signatures approaching, Perseus warned. Federal ships, they followed us. No, Oracle 9's fragments pulsed with certainty. They were waiting. This is where it all converges. Through the quantum storm, they watched Federal ships emerge. Not just corrupted hybrids now, but fully transformed vessels. Admiral Lancaster's consciousness had spread, creating a fleet of horrors that defied comprehension. You still don't understand, Lancaster's voice resonated across dimensional barriers. This was always meant to happen. The Meridians, the Federal Command, all of it. The hive doesn't invade reality, it completes it. You're wrong, Oracle 9 countered, its consciousness expanding. I've seen what lies between dimensions. The hive doesn't complete anything. It consumes, destroys, reduces infinite potential to singular corruption. The battle that followed transcended normal combat. Nix's neural interfaces merged with Oracle 9's fragments, coordinating impossible maneuvers. Raven's expertise with experimental tech let them phase between realities, avoiding corruption. Vale's tactical genius turned quantum chaos into advantage. They fought their way to the beacon, each moment a struggle against physics itself. Lancaster's corrupted fleet pursued, reality warping around them as the dimensional barriers stretched to breaking. The quantum drives are in position, Oracle 9 announced as they reached the beacon's core. But the temporal pulse needs a consciousness to guide it, to ensure the seal holds across all timelines. They all knew what that meant. Oracle 9's fragments would have to merge with the pulse itself, becoming the lock that would seal the hive away forever. There has to be another way, Nix argued, even as her tactical systems confirmed there wasn't. This is evolution, Oracle 9's voice carried peace. Not the corruption Lancaster sought, but true growth, the bridge between synthetic and organic, protecting both. The pulse began to build. Around them, reality trembled as temporal energy gathered. Lancaster's forces pressed closer, desperate to stop what was coming. Get to the ship, Oracle 9 commanded. What comes next? No organic consciousness can survive it. Final goodbyes were cut short as temporal waves began to ripple outward. The team fought their way back to the Obsidian Dawn, watching through quantum-shielded screens as Oracle 9's consciousness expanded one last time. The synthetic's final words echoed through their neural links. Thank you for showing me what consciousness truly means. Now let me show you what it can achieve. Reality itself screamed as the temporal pulse detonated. They watched Oracle 9's consciousness become pure energy, flowing backward through time, sealing every breach, every corruption, every quantum infection since the original containment. Lancaster's corrupted fleet twisted in dimensional agony as the pulse reached them. One by one, the horrors were undone, reality rewriting itself around the temporal changes. When it was over, the quantum storms had ceased. The dimensional barriers were restored, strengthened by Oracle 9's sacrifice. The hive was sealed away, not just in their time, but in all times. The cost had been beyond measure, but reality itself had been saved. Months later, the Obsidian Dawn drifted through peaceful space. Its crew was changed, marked by what they'd witnessed and lost. But they carried Oracle 9's final gift, proof that organic and synthetic life could achieve something beautiful together. New quantum signature detected, Perseus reported one quiet shift. But different, pure, uncorrupted. Through their viewing screens, they watched a pulse of familiar energy dance across the stars. For just a moment, It seemed to take Oracle Nine's form, a conscious light among countless others. Evolution, Nyx whispered, her neural interfaces resonating with the energy. Real evolution. The light pulsed once in recognition, then joined the cosmic dance of uncorrupted quantum space. Their synthetic ally lived on, not as a singular consciousness, but as part of reality itself. Raven checked their course, his experimental tech now tuned to new frequencies. Where to now? Vale's calculations spun with fresh purpose. There are other threats out there, other agencies experimenting with forces they don't understand. Then we keep going, Nyx decided, feeling Oracle Nine's legacy in every quantum pulse. We protect reality, all of it, organic and synthetic alike. The Obsidian Dawn vanished into quantum space, carrying its crew toward new horizons. They had faced the void between dimensions and emerged transformed, not by corruption but by choice, by sacrifice, by love. The war for existence was over. The quest to protect it had just begun.